Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me today, I've got someone whose personal story of transformation from civil law barrister to mindfulness expert and author inspires us to take action in their lives. He's the author of 2 books, Conscious Leadership and 100 Mindfulness Meditations, and has worked with global firms such as Netflix, Warner Brothers, and has been featured by the BBC, the Sunday Times, the Mirror, the Sun, Yoga Magazine, Psychologies, OmYoga Magazine, Attitude, Soul and Spirit magazines, and many more. Neil Seligman, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Hi Dave, how's it going?
It's going quite well, just taking each day as it comes, so keeping busy, but not too busy to get stressed out. If I do, I'll certainly look at some of your work, because it looks like you're doing a lot of great stuff there and being busy as well with all the global companies I've just listed there.
Indeed. Yeah, there's lots of different strands, I suppose, to my work. So sometimes I find it difficult to keep up with what I'm up to, but it's all aligned around mindfulness and conscious leadership and conscious professional skills. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm a big fan of mindfulness. I mean, I knew of meditation, so I was a track athlete, and I know you're in London, so I was training at Highgate, Parliament Hills, which isn't is in our local area. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a nice place for meditation. I see lots of people doing Tai Chi and stuff like that, so it sort of brought me in that world. But certainly you, what I'd like to know is. You went from civil law barrister to mindfulness expert and author. How did you do that? I mean, what kind of barrister was you? And from there, that career, how did the transformation happen?
Yeah, bit of a sidestep, I suppose. I initially, when I was going through university, I was training on the side as a Reiki master. So this was something that had kind of crossed my path quite early on in life. Just by chance, I was working out in a kids camp in upstate New York between school and uni. And there was a Reiki master from Melbourne in my division. And he ended up teaching me and a few friends the first 2 degrees of Reiki. And then I got so interested in it, came back. Next year, learned some more with him, followed him around the world a bit, took the master degree with him, and actually had a session with him this morning. So 25 years on or whatever, we're still in touch and tapping into it. So I suppose that sort of came along early doors. But I was quite an academic kid, so I was being tracked towards a profession, and I was quite interested in the idea of being a lawyer. And then when I found out you could be a barrister, which was kind of seemed like more fun to me, I decided to pursue that. So I was practicing as a barrister for 8 years. This is in my 20s now. But on the side, I also was keeping my healing kind of practice going. And that just quite naturally turned into a bit of coaching I was giving to some people, teaching meditation. People used to come to me for that as well. So I ran the 2 tracks kind of concurrently for a little while. And then at a certain point, I had this very pivotal conversation. So I was literally after court one day walking through the car park in the Inner Temple in London, just off Fleet Street. And a friend of mine from bar school, we trained together some years before, hadn't seen him for a while. He bounded up to me and goes, "Oh, hey Neil, how's it going? I hear you're one of the rising stars of the civil bar," he said. And these sort of words were sort of
meaning the barrister bar. the law
the
bar.
barrister bar,
Yeah, yeah.
And what I heard in my head when he said that was, your star is rising in the wrong field, you have to leave.
How did that, because I mean, that sounded like a compliment. So how did it turn to a kind of negating?
So the first up, yeah, it was a compliment from him. I'd never heard it from anyone else before, but he meant it as a compliment.
Right.
But then what happened in my head was, your star's rising in the wrong field, you have to leave. That was like a spiritual insight. That's how I received it. A sort of redirect.
It's like a calling.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a sort of undeniable dose of clarity and truth that sort of resounded through my body, like a gong going off. And as a result of that insight, I wrapped up my practice as a barrister, and I left the law. I resigned from chambers, and gradually started to figure out what on earth I was going to do next. So that was kind of how I suppose the barrister thing ended. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, there is something a bit unusual about my combination of skills. Like, there weren't very many other barristers who were also Usui and Karuna Reiki masters walking around chambers. So there was something quite unusual about it, and I took that insight to mean, like, go out and bring these two worlds that you're passionate about and bring them together, and see what comes from it. But it took me 3 years of exploration and going back into kind of self-discovery and all of this before I even came up with the idea for my business, The Conscious Professional, which is all about bringing, I guess, wisdom teachings to business through the ideas of mindfulness and resilience and well-being and conscious leadership.
Yes.
And that's really just sort of unfolded, I guess, in a bit of a blossoming, given that when I left the law, there wasn't really any talk of this in business, in terms of, they were quite considered sort of esoteric, woo-woo types of practices and themes. And so I've just seen this unfold, I suppose, in quite a nice way over the last decade or so. As more and more people have kind of got interested, mindfulness is now like a mainstream activity.
It's like a celebrity status now. The word mindfulness, it's like very, very, everyone's now turning to it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, not everyone, but
Everyone knows what it is at this point. Everybody,
yes,
is familiar with it.
It's mainstream. That's what I meant. It's mainstream now.
Yeah. So that's been the journey.
So that's how you ended up. Yeah. What kind of barrister was you? I mean, I'm just going to ask some little nosy questions before.
Yeah, no worries. So I was in civil litigation. I did a lot of personal injury, clinical negligence, and bits of contract law, insurance, that sort of thing. Right. So it's a sort of general.
Nothing to do with what Prince Andrews is going through now, then.
What's that?
Nothing to do with what Prince Andrew is going through now.
Oh, absolutely nothing to do with what Prince Andrew is going through now.
Yeah, different kind of litigation there. But anyway, sorry, I was just being nosy there. And your chambers was in Gray's Inn Road, yeah? Was it Gray's Inn?
My chambers was in the Inner Temple. It was 12 King's Bench Walk, just off Fleet Street. Yeah, just at the south side by the banks.
Very nice area to work. It's not next to the High Court anyway, but a very nice area to work. But obviously part of the hustle and bustle of London's rush, busy life. Which if you're doing this kind of work, you want to get away from that, I suppose, don't you? Really, or relax from it when you aren't in it.
No, I think the ambience of the Inner Temple and the other Inns of Court is actually pretty beautiful. Like, it was a real privilege to work in those areas, buildings, the gardens. A lot of people actually don't know that these kind of little worlds exist. But you can take a walk through the inns and kind of check them out. There's public parts of them. So if anyone's in London and is bored looking for a new walk, check out the Inns of Court around Chancery Lane, Fleet Street, off Gray's Inn Road, and you'll discover a little secret world in there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I've been all over London, but I mean, I'm aware of those areas because I've, raised in London Bridge and grew up near the Regent's Park, Camden area. So, worked all around there. As a firefighter, you get to see everything as well. So,
Yeah.
so let's get more onto your work you're doing now. And so tell us more about the work you're doing now. You're inspiring individuals and business to adopt conscious models and support them, to do inner and outer work in their transformation. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I suppose there's, the traditional way that we work is we go and deliver bespoke programs to firms to inspire their professionals to, I suppose, take on board the practical aspects of these practices and to apply them to their professional skills. That's kind of, I suppose, the little niche that we've fallen into. And so most of our courses pre-COVID, obviously all delivered in person. I'd be flying around the world quite a lot, talking to, different offices of global companies, and that all, like most people, went online. So, that's actually been a really interesting experience to develop a more online focus to some of the work. And we now have a public facing course called Zen in 10 to teach the foundations of mindfulness. And this is something which, rather than just kind of offering a set of practices for people to listen to, actually teaches the skill of how to meditate on your own without guidance, without music, for 10 minutes. So it's the real skill of sitting in silence. And what does that mean? How do we approach our thoughts, our emotions, our sensations? How do we learn how to kind of be calm and well within those quiet spaces, which actually, as human beings, we find quite difficult. We find it quite difficult to one, to sit still for long enough to get a bit of a sense of that kind of tranquility that might lie within. But also there's some layers that can divert us from finding that kind of peaceful aspect, which we have to work through. And so this little 10-day course helps people to do that.
Yeah, well, we can direct people to that 10-week course later in a while. But before that, I noticed that you also have 2 books out. Can you tell us more in detail about your 2 books? One's called 100 Mindfulness Meditation, and the other one's Conscious Leadership, which are two different topics there, mindfulness and leadership. But obviously, you can combine both together, can't you?
Yeah. So 100 Mindfulness Meditations was my first book, and I was inspired actually by a recipe book because I was getting a bit bored in my own personal meditation practice, and as I was kind of looking out into the marketplace, it was all very similar types of things. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a recipe book for meditations where you could like flick through, be like, oh, I want to do that one today, or I want to do that one today. So I wrote 100 meditations, and it started off just like being a collation of the ones that had, I'd sort of been naturally teaching for years. And then it was really interesting as I started doing it. I started sitting in meditation and receiving new meditations. And then so I would kind of sit in the morning and just meditate and kind of receive new ones. And then I'd go and write them down and kind of put them into the book in the afternoon. And just gradually I built up this kind of little, I suppose, set of scripts that, mindfulness teachers, yoga teachers really like it. And students of mindfulness, you kind of want to inspire some variety in their practice. And because of my healing roots, I also put in a section around meditation and healing as well. So kind of self-healing, how can we use the sort of energetics of meditation as we start to tune into the subtler aspects of the energy body, that we can actually be directive and intentional and open to receive healing and energy and so on. So that's that one. And then Conscious Leadership, I was approached to write by a publisher. I published my first one myself, and then I was approached by Quarto and one of their smaller houses, White Lion Publishing, to write Conscious Leadership, and that fits into their Build and Become series. So it's actually 20 lessons. They're super practical. There's always something to do in each of the lessons. There's lots of bits to kind of inspire further reading and further learning within it as well. So they're nice little kind of practical books that you can digest quite easily. And in Conscious Leadership, we sort of split it out into, it's really the journey of self-mastery. You know, there's sort of mindfulness sits within Conscious Leadership as really bringing an aspect of your full resources coming online in order to lead. So rather than sort of I say, you do, it's a much more collaborative, creative, witnessing based version of leadership. It's much more yin. Older models of leadership tend to be much more sort of command and control, hierarchies and so on. And this is speaking to a kind of a new energy, and a new energy which arises from self-mastery. Actually, for a while, the book was going to be called Self-Mastery, but it turned into Conscious Leadership along the way. So, so lots of good practical stuff in there to inspire kind of a leadership journey.
Yeah. Why not unconscious leadership?
Well, that would be a different book.
That would be a different book, yeah, it's true. Yeah. That's we're talking about something in the subconscious mind, which obviously
unconsciously
is deeper, I suppose, isn't it? Very deep, I guess.
Well, does it use unconscious leadership, and then you said subconscious? They're different, so.
Is it? Oh, right. Okay. What is the difference actually? Just out of interest now.
Well, if you're unconscious, you have no awareness, and you sort of.
Of course, you're knocked out. It's like that.
Like this guy's unconscious.
Subconscious. I actually meant subconscious. Actually, I actually meant subconscious.
Yeah. So subconscious is really just speaking about what's just below the level of awareness that you're in touch with. So often we can tune into our subconscious through meditation, hypnosis touches into the subconscious. We might receive kind of messages from our subconscious in dreams, when we're asleep or daydreaming, things like that. So it's it's that space that's still very connected to us, but it's just below the surface of what we're directly in contact with as we drive through our day and meetings and busyness. It's a bit below the surface.
Excellent. Well, let's now, when we spoke about your courses, or the course that you're currently doing at the moment, can you tell us more about Zen in 10 and
so
how people can get involved with it?
Yeah, Zen in 10 is it's really inspired by the fact that people would always come up to me after my trainings and be like, I can't meditate. Like, meditation's not for me. I've tried it. My brain's too busy. I just can't do it. I sit there, I get super frustrated. It's not for me. Like, I think it's lovely, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
And I would get that all the time. It comes from this perception that meditation should sort of immediately open itself to you as soon as you attempt it. That you should get into the state that we all imagine, the meditative state. It's sort of on a mountain, blissful, enlightened, aligned. There's sort of this idea that's
the old-fashioned way of looking at it.
Exactly, but it sort of still has resonance for people. They think that they're going to immediately feel calm and peaceful when they try and meditate, and that's not most people's experience. When we start to meditate, all we're doing is we're slowing everything down to get a bit of a look at what's actually happening in our body, mind, and being. And for most people, because we haven't been trained how to navigate this inner world with very much dexterity, it's usually a bit chaotic, a bit frenzied. There's lots of to-do lists, there's lots of schedules, there's lots of judgments, there's all of this sort of stuff. And I don't want to pretend that stuff goes away as we meditate. It doesn't. But what we do learn are the skills of how to orientate towards those things in slightly different ways. And as we learn how to, for example, witness our thoughts rather than to think our thoughts, so we can witness the mind and thoughts arising within mind without being so attached and identified to them. We sort of take a step back in awareness. you start to realize that actually we don't need to hold on so tightly to thoughts. We can watch them come and go. We can seat ourselves in the breath and in awareness. And in that state, you can monitor the thoughts that are arising. We can get in touch with our emotions and explore them. And sometimes it feels okay to kind of open a bit more with curiosity into our emotional state. And sometimes we'll kind of notice, oh, it feels a bit too intense, and we can back off. But we're kind of learning how to navigate this inner reality of thoughts, emotions, sensations with a bit more skill. That's all it is. And with that, as that comes along, we start to have insights about the types of thoughts that come along regularly in our mind. We have insights about our emotional state. We might go through a period of really understanding ourselves a little bit better as a result of that. We might have a few things that we have to work through because maybe the busyness was keeping us from looking. So, this is why with meditation, with mindfulness, you kind of have to go at our own pace. There's a rhythm for everyone. But Zen in 10 is the 10-day course, which in a 15 to 20 minute commitment per day, just over 10 days, you will learn all the skills you need to meditate on your own for 10 minutes and not go insane, essentially. So if you put people, into an experience where it's 10 minutes of silence straight away, people don't like that. They get frustrated, freak out. So this leads up to that in very easy bite-sized steps. There's a video to watch every day, an audio practice to listen to, a little worksheet to have a go at as well. And as it builds up, you get all of these resources which help you to know what to do as the things that happen in meditation occur. And so by the end of it, you kind of have a practice in your pocket that you don't need an app for. You can, do this meditation in the park, on your walk, before work, on your commute. And it's kind of always there. There's no requirement for anything else. And so people really learn the skill of welcoming silence back into their lives. And silence is something that I always treat silence as a kind of foundational aspect for a human being, as much as shelter, warmth, water, food. Silence, I think, is something, if we look into all of the wisdom traditions, there's a practice of silence in all of them. And we forget that there's actually a real human need.
You missed out sleep, by the way.
Oh yeah, we're doing some sleep as well. But there's a real human need.
But that happens anyway. If someone's... yeah. No, absolutely. And we're not going to go into Maslow's human needs as well, because we're going to be going really off track of the purpose of your courses. But you've got the 2 books, you've got this course, and you also have a Facebook group.
That's right, yeah. So the Conscious Professional Mindful community have been growing since the beginning of the year. It's getting up to about 300 people in the group now, and it's just a space where we can all come together and practice. So I teach once a week in the group for free. It's a live practice. They're different each week. So the beginning of the month, we do a positive mindset boost. We do a session called Total Calm, which is a massive chill out. The third session of the month is around solution consciousness, because I'm really hopeful that people are able to use their spiritual practices to actually make real change and to act in the real world, and for it to inspire their actions. I think we need a lot more conscious action in the world, so action that's imbued with awareness. And then the fourth one is a healing energy practice. So so it's always different. We run through those each month. People come along live or watch on the replay, and then I also share content of kind of what I'm up to as well during the week, and we have questions and all sorts of things to keep it lively. So anyone who's listening who's kind of drawn to that, wants to practice with me for free, you're very welcome to come and join the group on Facebook, the Conscious Professional Mindful Community.
Excellent. Well, where can people find that out, as well as find out where your books are and your course and everything else about what you do?
Yeah, I think probably the best place to go is neilseligman.com. That's got all of the links to everything else, including, if people are interested in the corporate stuff, there's links there that will take you to the conscious professional, or you can Google that. But yeah, there, and on Instagram, LinkedIn, like most people, you'll find me everywhere.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Neil, it's been really, really refreshing, as well as, you've really got this calm, sense of just, it calms me just listening to you, just talking, and, the way you explain it, tone of voice, everything, all that counts, doesn't it, really? So, yeah, very, very refreshing and enlightening with the work you're doing, and also interesting to see how you went from barrister to this work, which is obviously work that I'm, as a retired firefighter, getting more into as well, hence the reason for this podcast and everything else that I'm doing as well. But obviously good to see that you really, really successful, and you're pretty local to me as well, for where I used to work and live, so so I might even check out one of your live events if you ever do that as well. So but Neil, thanks a lot for coming on the show and sharing all this with my audience today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Dave. All the best, and thanks for doing this work too.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.